Hey guys, this is GamerKat09 and welcome back to part 2 of the 10 years YouTube behind the scenes. I'm still not really even sure what I'm calling this yet. By the time you see this video, it'll already have a title, but right now it's in the works, so yeah. So anyways, today I wanted to talk about the next select couple of games that I kind of grouped together. I didn't know how to group certain games because there's no way I'm going to be able to talk about absolutely everything. There are literally way too many games that I've played over the past decade. So I grouped together some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about that I felt was worthy or more interesting enough to kind of elaborate on versus going through the order of every single game that I've ever played in the last 10 years. But I decided to start this particular video out with a memorable moment in my YouTube history. I guess, for better or worse, will be decided, but we're going to talk about my Let's Play of Run Like Hell. And I was picking up the games and like showing them off, and then I realized I don't have Run Like Hell. Run Like Hell was a game that I borrowed from my brother because my brother owned it, and as far as I know, the last thing that I heard is he sold off all of his like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 collections, so literally I don't own the game anymore. But I will say this, that Run Like Hell was my first ever blind Let's Play. Hard to believe, right? And Run Like Hell is like a terrible game in general. I felt like the story had a lot of potential. I felt like it was interesting. I love the music because at the time I was really into Breaking Ben. So I loved to play the game and I loved listening to the music. Now you can't even really like watch it now because of all the copyright. Well, I guess you could watch it. I don't think they muted anything on me. I could be completely wrong. But I digress because that Let's Play was literally the worst Let's Play I've ever experienced. The story was really cool. It's kind of like a knockoff of Dead Space. It was what Dead Space was before Dead Space made it better. The controls were awful. The fights were a little bit terrible. Ammo was just a little kind of too scattered or not enough. And I was also terrible at third-person shooters. Or any shooter, for that matter of fact. I was not good at it. And I had many comments over the years telling me how terrible I was playing the game and like what I should have done and who I should have talked to and how I should have conserved my ammo and how I should have, you know, upgraded certain weapons and done certain things. And like, it was a good first try for me to kind of get the feel of doing a Let's Play, you know, for the first time, a game for the first time. And that made me realize that I don't want to play all games blind. Like, I don't want to play certain ones that I'm not really going to be good at because they're a style of game I'm not familiar with, and I'm not going to immediately be familiar with upon playing them for the first time. And I think I also learned that when I played Devil May Cry, which, if some of you watched, I also struggled with. So it is a really interesting game for the time that it came out in like the early 2000s, but it wasn't executed correctly or properly, and I struggled with it. I died to bosses numerous times. I'm looking at the playlist right now. It turned out to be 64 parts. So that is a lot of parts, a lot of failure, a lot of backtracking, a lot of just wandering around going, what the hell am I doing? I don't know what's going on. But needless to say, it was still something different at the time because I think at the time I wanted to play something that nobody else was playing, and that was kind of how I started the channel. Was, you know, a lot of people at the time were playing newer games. They were playing, you know, newer stuff. They were playing, I don't think indie games at the time were really that big yet, but people who were going back and playing like PlayStation 2 or old PC games or, you know, PlayStation 3 games. They were going and playing ones that were kind of familiar but not really overdone, whereas I was playing stuff that like some people never heard of, and there weren't a lot of Let's Plays out for the time. So that was kind of where I started doing all of this, which led me into doing the Let's Play for Eternal Eyes. Now, Eternal Eyes is I believe if I classify it correctly, a turn-based RPG. I might look that up really quick while I'm talking to you because now I'm doubting myself. Okay, it is a turn-based strategy game, not RPG. Turn-based strategy, sorry. Nixed that before. Eternal Eyes was something that I got, I think, on complete accident. It wasn't something that I wanted to have. I ended up getting it either as like a gift for like my birthday or for like Christmas or something, and I played it and I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. It took me a very long time to complete. In hindsight, when I started the Let's Play, I had no idea how long this was actually going to be. So when I started to play it, I was like, oh my god, this is taking forever. And I struggled in certain parts that I didn't like to admit that I struggled with. But, you know, when you're on camera, sometimes things go wrong because you get nervous, you have hiccups, there's issues, whatever may be the case. But to this day, Eternal Eyes is my longest Let's Play at 98 parts. Almost 100 parts to a PlayStation 1 game Let's Play. Like, that's pretty incredible. And I have not played a single game since that has ever met close to that amount in video. Now, mind you, these videos, I believe, are each like 15 or 20 minutes long, so it could have easily been, yeah, they're like exactly 11 minutes long. 10 minutes, 59 seconds each. It is ridiculous. The gameplay is also really long. It's very tedious. But a lot of you guys did end up enjoying it and thought it was a really interesting game. And from what I could even see from just Googling really quick, I mean, now there's YouTube videos of it and there's walkthroughs of it, but there really isn't a lot of information on it. So that makes me feel a little bit better. all these years later, that it's still kind of a really cool thing to have. Then the next one that I have in this category is Alone in the Dark. So Alone in the Dark was the second blind Let's Play. And I did a little bit better with that because it wasn't necessarily a shooter. And it was more of a kind of like, you know, horror, thriller, adventure kind of game. It was a game at the time because I was recording with the Dazzle, with the settings, and like Windows Movie Maker was a really hard game to record because of how dark the game is. And I could not really get the look that I wanted as far as recording because of all of the settings and component cables and just the setup and the lack of features that I had to record. But I felt like Alone in the Dark kind of gave me a better direction on what kind of games that I wanted to do a blind Let's Play of. And people were getting more of a feel of my channel being more of a horror kind of like genre and not necessarily like, you know, spontaneously like all of these other things. Like, and I know Clock Tower 3 and Haunting Crown are, you know, in that same category of horror genre, but they weren't blind, is what I'm trying to get. I didn't play those for the first time on the channel. I played those, you know, dozens of times before I recorded it, whereas I was trying to come up with games that I could play genuinely for the first time to get a better reaction, to kind of, you know, show people, you know, how interesting a game is for the first time. And it's helped a lot of you since too. And I think that's what drew a lot of people to my channel, is some people were really afraid of playing certain games, so I would play it for the first time, and thus we all experienced it for the first time together, which stands exactly to this day. So that's a neat feature if you think about it like that. I may not be explaining it correctly, but hey, I'm trying. And then the last thing that I wanted to group into this category was Beyond Good and Evil. So Beyond Good and Evil holds a very special place in my heart. It is one of my absolutely favorite games, aside from Resident Evil, aside from Clock Tower 3, that isn't a horror genre game. Like, Beyond Good and Evil and Spyro the Dragon are like here. I don't know, they're just really good games. Like, they were games that I could always fall back on and play and genuinely enjoy. And it makes me super excited that in the future, somewhere down the road, we will be getting Beyond Good and Evil 2, whenever the frick that'll be. I might be 40 by the time it happens. And the sequel might be more of a prequel, and it may not really be a sequel at all, and it may not be anything that I want or expect, but the fact that they're doing something to try to get back into that game, into that world, into those characters, gives me a little bit of hope that something better will come of it, I hope. Especially since they keep delaying it and they keep hiding things. I can only hope that if they continue to do so, they can do it as long as they need to, but their final product needs to like man up and match, you know, everybody's expectations, if that's the case. If they were just putting a game out for the sake of putting a game out, then they would have done it already. If they were really trying to work on a masterpiece to make people happy about it, then do it. Well, I'm not sure why the end of that video cut out so abruptly as it did, but I did stray away from the topic of why I did record Beyond Good and Evil, and the primary point of it was I did Beyond Good and Evil because it was a game that was familiar to me, that I loved, and I wanted to share that with you guys. And I think I did an overall good job, but I am excited for Beyond Good and Evil 2 whenever it does come out. So thank you guys for watching this part. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next part where I talk about the Fatal Frame series. So get stoked, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this, and bye-bye.